Hey guys, tonight we're slipping quietly into the moonlit stillness of an ancient Egyptian village. The Nile shimmers nearby, soft frogs croaking, date palms swaying gently under a star-choked sky. But here's the twist. You're not strolling past the temple in your finest linen. No, tonight, you're curling up on a dusty rooftop, the faint buzz of mosquitoes your bedtime lullaby, and the occasional snort of a donkey your alarm clock. You think modern sleep is rough? Imagine trying to doze off in 40 degrees Celsius heat, no fan, no mattress, and neighbors chanting prayers to ward off snake spirits. You probably won't survive this night without at least one bug bite, a spiritual consultation, and a very stiff neck. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with where you're listening from, and what time it is, moonrise or sunrise. I'd love to know. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up in a tiny mud brick house, its walls cracked with time, and the scent of old incense clinging to everything. You're already sweating because, spoiler, it's Egypt, and you're wrapped in a linen sheet that's more ceremonial than comfortable. Most rural families here sleep on rooftops, flat and open, under the mercy of the wind gods. Inside, the air is stifling, and outside, well, at least the breeze keeps the worst of the flies away. Your bed, if you're lucky enough to have one, is a raised wooden frame tied with woven cords. It creaks like an old camel every time you shift. And that pillow, it's not soft. It's a carved headrest, either wood, ivory, or sometimes stone, just a crescent moon for your neck. You try not to think about how much it resembles a mini guillotine. Historians still argue whether everyone used those terrifying headrests or if they were more symbolic, reserved for elites or religious rites. One theory suggests the curved shape helped protect sleepers by keeping their heads elevated above crawling insects. Another? It just made them look more composed in death. Death, by the way, is never far from the conversation here. Sleep and the afterlife go hand in hand. To an ancient Egyptian, falling asleep wasn't just rest, it was rehearsal. The body quiets, the spirit journeys. And if the gods are kind, you wake up again. You glance across the room. Your sibling is asleep on a straw mat, curled up beside a goat. Practical? Very. Cozy? Less so. Rural homes don't waste space, and animals are part of the household. Sometimes literally. Your dreams tonight may feature hooves. If you live in a larger town, maybe you're not on a roof. Maybe your home has upper floors, balconies, even linen curtains that try to catch the breeze. Still, no glass windows. Just open slats, wooden shutters, and prayers for wind. Mosquito nets? Nope. You have thick oils, burning herbs, and sleep amulets tucked under your mattress for protection. They might not stop the insects, but hey, every little bit helps. Your parents talk softly nearby, voices lowered, heads bowed, facing east. They're thanking RA for the day, asking him to guard the family through the dangerous hours of night. There's always a candle flickering, a thin spiral of smoke curling toward the ceiling. Scented resin, meant to carry prayers and ward off demons. You stretch, try not to wake the baby, and notice how your linen tunic sticks to your back. Bathing is for morning. At night, you go to bed as you are, sand still between your toes, coal half smudged across your face. You remember your grandmother warning you never to fall asleep angry. That's how spirits get in. She says you must smooth your soul before your body rests. That's why she hums old hymns at night, fingers worrying the edge of a scarab charm. Egyptians, you're learning, take bedtime seriously. This isn't just about comfort. It's about survival. Sleep is vulnerable. In those hours, demons like the Devourer or the Serpent Apophis may attack. Bad dreams aren't shrugged off here. They're warnings. Visitations. Sometimes prophecies. Some families leave tiny offerings by their beds. A drop of beer, a slice of bread, maybe onions. For the ancestors, or the house spirits, or both. No one wants to sleep in a room where the dead feel ignored. The night deepens. Outside, a priest chants from a temple nearby, low and rhythmic. You can't make out the words, but they wrap around the air like warm wool. The moon climbs higher. You shift again on your creaky bed, wondering if you'll ever get used to the stiffness or the feeling that the gods might be watching. Eventually, your eyes close. You drift, and somewhere far below, the Nile whispers past your dreams. You're woken before dawn, not by a rooster, but by the thick, familiar scent of incense and the quiet rustle of sandals against dirt. Someone's already moving through the house, gently shaking the sleep from its corners. It's time for purification, because in Egypt, sleep wasn't just sleep, it was a cosmic event. The moment you opened your eyes, you were believed to be returning from the land of dreams, possibly from a meeting with the gods, or worse, with restless spirits. So now, you're not just yawning, you're spiritually rebooting. First order of business? Rinsing your face with cold water drawn from a clay pot. It smells faintly of river reeds and copper. There's no soap, just a little natron, the salty drying compound used for everything from cleaning to mummification. You dab your skin, try not to inhale it. The tingling means it's working. Or it's inside your nose now. One of the two. A reed mat has been laid out near the eastern window, where the sun's first light creeps across the floor like a shy animal. This is where you sit, cross-legged, to recite a prayer to Ra. You mumble the words, half remembered from your mother's teachings. Something about safe passage through the darkness and gratitude for waking in one piece. You've had dreams you'd rather forget. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians believed in literal nightly journeys through Duat, the underworld, or if these rituals were more metaphorical. Either way, your body wakes slow, but your soul is already up and pacing. Your little brother is still asleep, mouth open, hand resting on the family cat, who has no concept of sacred space and is snoring louder than anyone. Cats were protectors, sure, but they were also freeloaders. If Badet ever asked them to earn their keep, they never got the memo. Now comes the first weird part. You reach for your dream tablet, a small wax-covered board with a stylus tied to the side. Every dream is supposed to be recorded. Yes, every dream. Even the one about falling into a well made of dates. Which you had last night. Thank you very much. Because your dreams? They're messages. Maybe from ancestors. Maybe from gods. Maybe from something stranger. If it's a really strange one, like the time you dreamt of walking backward through a field of fish, you'd have taken it to the Sesh per Ankh, the scribes of the local temple. For a small offering, they'd interpret it using massive dream manuals, some with symbols so ancient they're barely legible anymore. One scholar's theory suggests that some of these interpretations were made up on the spot to keep business brisk. Others think the priests genuinely believed that dreams were direct communiques from the divine. You just remember being told never to ignore a dream involving crocodiles. Today's dream? You jot it down with clumsy hieroglyphs, a falcon with human legs dancing on a pot. Disturbing, but possibly lucky. You slip the tablet under your mat. Time to sweep the floor. Not for cleanliness, though sure that too, but because it clears bad spirits of the night. Dust is swept toward the door, never back inside. And if someone sneezes during the sweep, you say a blessing. Otherwise, the bad luck sticks. Your mother is burning kifi now, a fragrant mix of honey, wine, frankincense, and dozens of herbs. The smoke is sweet, heady. It curls around your head like a crown. Egyptians believed scent had power, that some smells could open your mind to the gods or close it off from demons. That might explain the neighbor who insists on lighting 7 different oils before bed. His house smells like a spice market having an identity crisis. Speaking of neighbors, you hear one now, grumbling about a dream involving an ibis with no beak. Everyone has dreams here, and everyone wants to tell you about them. You nod politely and pretend it's not weird. There's also the matter of bed sharing. Families sleep close, not for comfort, though it helps, but because dreams are contagious. Yes, contagious. There's a belief that one person's dream energy can pass to another during sleep. Some say this is how gods choose new priests, by sending shared dreams. Others use it as an excuse to hog the good pillow. Either way, it's why you're sometimes told to sleep with your feet pointing east and your head facing the Nile, to keep the dream flow flowing. And then there's the dream charms, little amulets worn like jewelry or tucked into your bedding. the Eye of Horus to ward off nightmares, scarabs to bless your slumber, even carved hippos, strangely enough, symbols of both protection and chaos. One night you tried sleeping without your amulet. You dreamt of frogs falling from the ceiling. Never again. You duck outside for a breath of air. The Nile is glassy in the morning light. A barge floats past, stacked with papyrus bundles. Birds call from the reeds, and the world feels pause between dreams and duties. The elders say dreams that come at dawn are the most prophetic. And last night's, with the falcon legs, might mean you'll dance at a celebration, or fall on your face during grain harvest. Interpretations vary. You head back inside, fingers brushing your headrest. It's time to start the real day. But as you glance at your dream tablet one more time, you wonder, was it really just a dream? Or were you somewhere else entirely? You head toward the roof. Because surprise, your bed isn't always in the house. Some nights, especially during the warmer seasons, you sleep outside under the stars. Not for the view, though to be fair, Orion looks excellent from here, but because Egyptian homes get hot. Not crack a window hot. Your soul is sweating hot. Mud brick walls do their best, but roofs are the true sweet spot for a breeze. So up you go, past your sister who's still adjusting her beaded wig, up the narrow steps where your neighbor's goose watches you with eternal suspicion. Rooftop sleeping is a whole thing here. You've got your own mat, your own wooden headrest, and a special cloth to keep the dew off your face. It's simple, it's sacred, and it's a little gritty if someone forgot to sweep the roof last week. You settle in and remember, oh right, Astris the ritual star, because you can't just lie down and snooze like a barbarian. Egyptians took bedtime seriously. First, you whisper the nighttime protection charm. It's outword about warding off snakes, scorpions, and nightmares shaped like jackals. You say it 3 times just to be safe. You're not superstitious. But that time, a scarab beetle crawled across your chest mid-dream? Yeah, you're not taking chances. Then you position your headrest. It's not a pillow, oh no. It's a curved wooden stand that cradles the neck just so. At first, it's wildly uncomfortable, like resting your head on a loaf of stale bread. But over time, you get used to it. Some say it helps channel dreams more clearly. Others say it keeps your wig from getting lopsided. Scholars still argue whether the headrest had a spiritual purpose or just practical engineering. Either way, your neck has opinions. From here, the city murmurs. Croaking frogs, distant chatter, the occasional clang of a temple bell. Sleep is communal, not private. On rooftops across the neighborhood, people lie in loose rows spaced like stars. It's oddly comforting, hearing your uncle snore 3 houses away, like a sleepy symphony of extended family and faint goat noises. But it's not just people sleeping up here. There's the occasional cat, curled into a papyrus basket, a watchdog sniffing the breeze, and maybe, just maybe, something stranger. Some folks say Anubis walks the rooftops at night, silent as moonlight, peering into dreams. You try not to think about that. You tuck your legs in tighter. As you drift off, you feel your mother adjusting a charm near your neck. A tiny blue amulet shaped like a lotus. It's for protection during the small death, a poetic phrase Egyptians used for sleep. Because to them, slumber was a rehearsal. Every night, you stepped halfway into the afterlife. Every morning, you hope to return. There's a dream ritual, too. Before you fall asleep, you're supposed to say what you want to dream about. A good harvest. A handsome neighbor noticing you. Winning an argument you lost earlier that day. Whatever it is, you whisper it to the stars. Some believe Thoth, god of knowledge and writing, jots it down like a divine to-do list. Others think dreams are shaped by the state of your soul. Tonight, you whisper flying just to see what happens. Your breath slows. The night thickens. And just before sleep takes you, someone lets out a very loud snore. Your eyes open. You groan. It's your cousin. Again, you consider throwing a date pit at him. Instead, you reach for your reed blanket, cocoon yourself tighter, and mentally summon Horus to strike him with silent dreams. Then, finally sleep. But wait, what's that? The sky pulses gold. You're floating. The Nile stretches below you like a ribbon of ink. There's a temple to your left and a lion with 6 heads to your right. None of this is normal, but it is beautiful. You drift past the giant form of a seated god, half obscured by smoke. He nods. You nod back because why not? Suddenly you're underwater, surrounded by fish with human eyes. One of them speaks in your grandmother's voice. You forgot to sweep the roof, it says. You wake up with a start. Your cousin is still snoring. The stars are still out. And in the distance, a priest begins the first pre-dawn chant. You roll over, heart racing, wondering what that dream meant. Maybe you'll ask the temple scribe tomorrow. Or maybe you'll just sweep the roof, just in case. Either way, it's time to try again. You curl into your mat, lotus amulet cool against your throat, and let sleep take another shot. You wake up to the sound of hooves. Not real ones. More like the clatter of sandals and market carts echoing up the walls, bouncing through the dusty morning air like a drum roll for sunrise. You blink, stretch, and remember you're on the roof again, the sky shifting from indigo to honey above your head. Your mouth is dry. Your headrest has imprinted a crescent onto the side of your face. And your cousin, yes, still snoring. You kick him gently. He rolls over, mutters something about temple bread, and goes quiet. Bless silence. Time to get up. But before you do, there's one more ritual, remembering your dream. In ancient Egypt, dreams were not just brain static. They were messages, omens, divine voice notes. Waking up without recalling your dream was like missing a scroll from the gods. So you lie still for a moment, eyes closed, trying to coax it back. Was there a fish? A lion? No, wait. A staircase made of figs? It's already slipping. You sigh. Another mystery lost to the Nile mist. Still, you shuffle down from the roof and into the main room of your house, stepping over your uncle's sandals and dodging your little sister's attempts at wrangling her pet ibis. Your mother is already grinding barley near the hearth, and your father is reciting a mourning hymn under his breath. Sleep in ancient Egypt didn't just end with waking. It left ripples. If your dreams were strange enough, you might tell them to the household scribe, who'd log them on a scrap of ostrakhan. Or maybe you'd drop by the dream temple, if you were lucky enough to live near one. These temples weren't just for praying. They were sleep clinics with incense. People would lie down, fast, chant, and hope for visions. The gods might appear in dreams with advice, warnings, or bizarre metaphors that no one could quite explain. Historians still argue whether these dreams were seen as literal prophecy or just divine poetry. You wouldn't know. You're not going to a dream temple today. You've got chores. First, though, there's breakfast. Bread and beer. Yes, beer. Egyptians drank it like water, because their water wasn't always safe. And their beer? Thick, porridge-like, and mildly sour. But it filled your stomach and gave you a morning buzz that helped you forget how little sleep you got. You eat in silence, feet dangling off a low stool, and stare out the door toward the alleyway. Cats prowl the walls, and the sun is climbing fast. Soon it'll be hot again. Too hot to move, too hot to work. Which is why, like most Egyptians, you're already thinking about your next nap. Because Egyptians love to nap. Midday rest wasn't laziness, it was strategy. When the sun turned the air to soup, people retreated indoors. Shops closed. Tools dropped. Even scribes stopped mid-scroll. You'd stretch out on a mat, arms behind your head, and let the heat lull you into a second sleep. This nap wasn't always private. Sometimes you shared a room with family, or even co-workers if you worked in a craft guild. Bodies piled like cats in the shade, snoring in harmony. There's a fringe theory that Egyptians practiced biphasic sleep, 2 chunks of slumber per day, broken by periods of quiet wakefulness. One long nap at night, one short in the afternoon. Some scholars buy it. Others think naps were more about heat than hormones. But either way, you're ready to test the theory. You glance at your mat longingly. Not yet. You've got errands. Your mother sends you to the market with a list carved into a clay shard. On your way, you pass sleeping laborers curled in shadowed doorways, a priest dozing upright in a temple alcove, and a goose tied to a pole with its head tucked under a wing like it's seen too much. Even animals seem to respect nap culture. At the market, you buy onions, fish, and something labeled only as spice. It smells like dried thunder. You try not to sneeze. You return just in time for the heat to peak. Your father is already asleep, hand still resting on a half-finished amulet. You eat a small lunch of lentils and bread. Then finally, you roll onto your mat, the roof once again your haven. This nap is different. The sun's up, the air is sticky, but sleep comes quickly. In your dream, a crocodile in a headdress offers you a scroll. You ask if it's a recipe. He hisses, offended. You wake to your little sister poking your ribs with a lotus stalk. You drooled, she says. You wipe your chin. So, it looked like the Nile. Go away. But you're smiling. You stretch, rise, and get back to your chores. But the dream lingers. Later, when your mother asks why you keep eyeing the fish jar suspiciously, you'll say, no reason. Just dreams. You've barely shaken off your nap when your cousin tells you it's time to help with the sleeping mats. Not your own. No, that would be too easy. You're headed to your aunt's house, where the mats are in desperate need of sunning, airing, and possibly divine intervention. It's part of the weekly ritual. Drag them up to the roof, beat out the sand, and let the sun do the rest. Egyptian mats aren't exactly feather beds. Most are woven from papyrus stalks or palm fibers, coarse but breathable. Some people, especially in wealthier homes, cover them with linen sheets, but your aunt is not one of those people. Her mats feel like sleeping on dried seaweed. And yet, you lug them upstairs with practiced hands, trailing a faint cloud of dust and resentment. While you work, your cousin hums a temple tune, off-key. You swat him with a corner of the mat. He retaliates with a handful of straw. In seconds, you're both laughing. The sun's too hot for anything else. Egyptian rooftops, by the way, are social spaces. They double as laundromats, stargazing decks, gossip centers, and yes, bedrooms. Privacy? Rare. Comfort? Negotiable. But the breeze up here is worth it. As you unroll the last mat, you notice something odd. A small bundle of blue cloth, tied carefully and tucked beneath the corner. Your cousin sees it too. Charm, he guesses. You nod. Protective sleep charms were common. Egyptians believed that dreams could invite not just messages, but visitors, some friendly, others not. So charms, amulets, and dream spells were used to guard the sleeper. This one has a bit of lapis lazuli sewn into the cloth and a faint smear of ochre. Must be your aunt's. She dreams of snakes. Your cousin whispers. You both pause. No yayment. Everyone dreams of something. But snake dreams usually mean one of two things: hidden knowledge or betrayal. You roll the charm back up and place it where you found it. Some things aren't yours to unpack. Back downstairs, your aunt thanks you with a bowl of melon slices and a long story about her cousin's neighbor's son who once dreamed of a golden cat and found a coin the next day. You nod politely, munching, and file that away under dream logic. As the afternoon stretches, you're sent to the scribal quarter with your uncle. He needs a scroll copied, a hymn of protection to place near the sleeping area. You walk beside him through shaded colonnades, past priests in long linen robes and acolytes practicing their writing on shards of pottery. The scriptorium smells like ink, wax, and sleep. Always sleep. That's because some scribes actually nap between lines. Copying hieroglyphs is slow, careful work. To keep their hands steady and mind sharp, scribes would rest in short bursts. One eye open, stylus still in hand. A half sleep, practiced and perfect. Some historians even suggest this helped them receive inspiration from the gods. Historians still argue whether scribes considered dream state copying a form of divine authorship. Your uncle whispers as the copyist begins his work. You nod, quietly impressed. You return home with the scroll, your uncle muttering a blessing under his breath as he tucks it beneath the family shrine. A small ceramic cat watches from the altar, its painted eyes too alert for comfort. That night, you're allowed to sleep indoors. It's a rare treat. The floor is cool. The mat is softer than your aunt's. And your mother even sprinkles a little myrrh near the headrest for luck. You stretch out, listening to the night sounds, crickets, a donkey braying somewhere far off, and the occasional splash of water from a neighbor's jar. Your little sister is already asleep, curled like a shrimp. Your cousin breathes loud and slow beside you. But you lie awake. Not in a bad way, just thoughtful. Because Egyptian sleep was rarely just rest. It was preparation. For tomorrow. For dreams. For what might be whispered to you by gods with falcon heads and scarab wings. You've heard stories of people waking with song lyrics they swore came from Thoth himself. You close your eyes. You breathe in the scent of myrrh. And you wait. Not for sleep, exactly, but for whatever might come with it. You're asleep, but not really. Egyptian slumber isn't always a full plunge into the void. It's more like dipping into a shallow pool, then rising again, then dipping once more. Light sleep, then alertness, then dreams. It happens in stages because guess what? The ancient Egyptians likely practiced segmented sleep long before it had a modern name. You wake naturally a few hours after sunset. The house is silent, but not still. A breeze slips through the window slats. Somewhere in the courtyard, a neighbor coughs. Next to you, your cousin mumbles something in his sleep. You sit up slowly, careful not to disturb him, and stretch. Then you rise. This is the first sleep, and it's normal to stir in the middle of it. In fact, many Egyptians used this waking period for small tasks, prayers, tending a fire, chatting quietly, even quick chores. You light a small oil lamp, shielding it with your hand. The golden flicker casts dancing shadows on the wall. Your mother is already up. She offers you a date and a cup of beer. Just a sip, just enough. You nibble, stretch again, and settle near her on the reed mat. You dream? She asks. You shrug. No bad signs, she says. Good. Dreams are serious business here. If you've had a vivid one, you might recount aloud. If it's especially strange, your family might take it to the Reem T, a dream interpreter. These were usually temple-trained women, gifted in deciphering symbolic language, animal appearances, and divine nudges. Some are so skilled, people lined up outside their homes before dawn. Historians still argue whether dream interpreters were officially trained in priesthoods or learned their craft through oral tradition. Your mother murmurs like a lullaby. Either way, dream analysis was big business. You talk softly for a few more minutes. Then she returns to bed, and you're left watching the flame in its shallow clay bowl. It dances like a memory you can't quite grasp. Eventually, second sleep calls. You lie back down. This second cycle often brought the more intense dreams, the kind that stuck with you, the kind you'd remember or want to forget. And tonight, your dream comes fast. You're walking down a corridor made of stone. Not carved, stacked. Each slab bears a glyph, and the glyphs glow blue. You hear rushing water. There's a cat, perched on a ledge above you, and it blinks with human eyes. Somewhere in the distance, someone chants your name. You don't remember what happens next, just that you wake with your heart doing a Nile flood thump against your ribs. The room is dark again. Your cousin snores softly. A mosquito buzzes near your ear. You sit up and glance toward the family shrine. The little cat statue is still watching, just like in a dream. You wrap yourself in your shawl and tiptoe to the window. The stars above are sharp and endless. Orion's belt shines like a row of pearls. The Nile glimmers in the distance, quiet and enormous. Many Egyptians believe the night sky was the body of Nut, the goddess of the heavens, arching over the earth. She swallowed the sun each night and gave birth to it again each morning. That made sleep something sacred, something celestial. You exhale. The cool air presses gently against your skin. You shiver, not from cold, but from wonder. You're part of a rhythm far older than yourself. A rhythm of stars, gods, river, breath. A cycle of waking and sleeping that stretches back thousands of years. You lie down again, head against the papyrus mat. Second sleep drifts over you like a silk veil. Your mother murmurs in her dreams. A beetle clicks across the floor, and the little flame sputters out. One final flicker against the dark. By morning, the world has changed. The Nile smells different at dawn. Less like water, more like earth and cool stone. You blink against the soft blue light spilling into the room, rubbing sleep from your eyes with knuckles still stiff from dreaming. Your second sleep was deep. Strange. There was something about a crocodile wearing a crown. You'll probably forget it by noon, which might be a blessing. It's time to rise fully now, not drift. And if you lived in a typical working Egyptian household, that means you're already behind. First, the feet hit the ground. Literally. There are no slippers. Just packed dirt. Maybe a worn reed mat if your family's doing well. Your legs ache from yesterday's labor, and your back mutters something unkind. You stand anyway. In this house, waking up isn't a solo affair. Most people sleep in shared spaces, siblings, cousins, sometimes even a goat. Privacy doesn't really exist unless you're wealthy. And even then, good luck. Pharaohs had more gold than alone time. You splash water from a basin to your face. It's shockingly cold. The kind of cold that slices through foggy thoughts and tells you it's time to be useful. But before breakfast, before sweeping, before anything, you must greet the gods. The family shrine is tucked into a corner, modest but neat. A clay figure of Bess grins at you with his lion tongue out. You bow slightly. Bess, the protector of sleep and dreams. He's weird looking, but you respect him. After last night's crocodile dream, he's probably been working overtime. You light a bit of incense, made from crushed resin and rolled into a tiny cone. It sizzles slightly, releasing a cloud that smells like burnt cinnamon and dusty figs. You say a short prayer, something simple, something sincere. May today be kind. Historians still argue whether daily prayers were formulaic or improvised. But here, in this moment, it's what your grandmother taught you. So it's what you say. Outside, the town is waking. Chickens cluck. A baby wails. Two neighbors argue loudly over whose donkey trampled whose onions. You grab a broom made of tied reeds and start sweeping the threshold. Not because it's filthy, but because dust invites chaos. That's a real belief here. Physical mess invites spiritual disorder. So you sweep and sweep again. Then, finally, food. Don't get excited. This isn't a brunch buffet. Your breakfast is simple: flatbread, a bit chewy, goat cheese, a bit salty, and a smear of something vaguely sweet if you're lucky. Dates if it's a festival week. Leftover beer porridge if it's not. It's filling, not fancy. Your brother sits beside you, eating quickly. He's got work in the granary, and he's already late. He throws you a piece of bread and a wink. Dream anything weird? Crocodile on a crown? You mutter. He snorts. Better than mine. I was marrying a hippo. You both laugh. Then he's gone. Your mother gives you a list of errands to run before the sun climbs too high. You nod and tuck the list into your sash. It's written on a bit of limestone flake, an ostrakhan. Paper is too valuable. Papyrus is for important stuff. You get stone scraps. As you head out into the street, the sunlight shifts. The houses, mud brick, sun-baked, warm, cast long shadows. You shield your eyes. Somewhere, a scribe mutters at a cracked tablet. A market woman yells prices for fresh leeks. And yet, sleep is still close. It lingers on your shoulders like morning mist. You hear someone mutter a dream under their breath as they pass. You feel the tug of that other world just beneath the surface of this one. Because here in Egypt, sleep isn't over when you wake up. People talk about their dreams in casual conversation. They ask about signs, colors, symbols. Was there a bird? What kind? Was it flying north? Did it speak? These things matter. Some households even keep dream books, not in the modern sense, but scrolls or lists passed down, filled with known interpretations. If you dream of a snake, that could be healing or betrayal. Depends on how it was coiled. You head toward the marketplace, the stone clacking against your hip as you walk. Your errands await, but so does a neighbor leaning on her cane, eyes sharp despite her age. She stops you. Your shoulders say you dreamed strange, she says. You blink. You weren't going to tell anyone, but somehow she knows. Crocodile and a crown? She guesses. You nod slowly. She cackles. That one means change. Or taxes. Then she walks away. You stare after her, stunned. Then smile. Maybe Bess really was working overtime. You're barely down the alley when the heat taps your shoulder. The Egyptian sun doesn't wait for lunch to get serious. It climbs high fast, burning down through the clear blue like it's got something to prove. You pull your linen shawl tighter around your head. Not for warmth, but to keep your scalp from toasting like flatbread. Your first stop is the perfumer's stall. It smells glorious. Overwhelming, even. Crushed myrrh, cinnamon, blue lotus, frankincense. Scents collide in the air like an olfactory festival, and you almost forget you're running errands. The perfumer eyes you suspiciously. You've been here before, but he's the sort who assumes everyone's here to sniff and run. I'm here for my mother's sachet, you say. He grunts, disappears behind a curtain, and returns with a tiny woven pouch that smells like heaven's armpit. Spicy, floral, oddly comforting. The Egyptians took fragrance seriously. Not just for vanity, though they definitely had a thing for smelling good, but for spiritual reasons. Pleasant scent was tied to health, holiness, even protection in the afterlife. Your mom says it wards off nightmares. And ants. Next on the list, the linen merchant. Your family's running low on clean bed coverings, which is a problem, because despite the heat, Egyptians didn't sleep nude. Linen was sacred stuff, soft, breathable, symbolic. Even peasants try to keep a few pieces for sleeping, even if they wore rougher cloth during the day. You duck under the awning of the linen stall, dodging a goose with the confidence of royalty. The merchant greets you with a yawn and a sunburn. He's folding fabric, muttering to himself about moths and thieves. You pick out 2 narrow sheets, thin but clean, and trade a small jar of beer for them. Barter's the rule of the land. Coins exist, but for most folks, it's all trade and favors. Carrying the linen makes you feel oddly responsible, like you're helping your household sleep better tonight, like maybe Bess will smile at you in your dreams. Then you hear a commotion. Down the street, a priest in brilliant white robes is speaking loudly to a small crowd. He's holding a carved wooden staff and a scroll. You pause, curious. He's talking about dreams. More specifically, divine dreams. Dreams were a big deal in ancient Egypt. If a god showed up while you slept, that wasn't just subconscious spaghetti. It was a message, maybe even a command. The priest says someone in the village dreamed of Anubis walking backwards. That gets gasps. Bad omen, someone whispers. Unless he was blessing the dead, another argues. Historians still argue whether Egyptian priests used dreams as a means of control or genuinely believed in their prophetic power. Maybe both. Either way, the people believe. You see it in their faces. Fear, wonder, curiosity. You linger for a bit, listening. Then the sun reminds you of your next errand. Herbs. You duck into a shaded herb shop. It's air thick with rosemary, mint, marjoram, and some blend that smells like boiled socks but supposedly cures nightmares. The herb vendor is a tiny woman with a big voice. You look dream-haunted, she says, not unkindly. I dreamed of a crocodile with a crown, you admit. She nods like that makes total sense. Royal change. Or indigestion. You buy a sachet of sleep herbs anyway. Crushed chamomile, blue lotus petals, and ground cedar bark. She throws in a clove of garlic just in case. You're sweating by the time you turn toward home. Your arms are full, your sandals dusty. But there's something deeply human about gathering what your household needs for sleep. Clean linen, good smells, calming herbs. It's part ritual, part protection, part comfort. As you reach the house, your mother nods in approval. She takes the linen and herbs, placing them near the family shrine. Tonight, she'll burn some of it to scent the air. The rest will go in small pillows, sachets tucked beneath heads, maybe even a few lines drawn on the door in oil. Your little cousin is napping already. On his back, arms folded neatly, face soft in the fading light. You remember what the priest said earlier. If a god visits tonight, he'll look for signs. Clean sheets, sacred scent, a home at peace. You help sweep the last of the dust from the floor. Then sit by the doorway and listen to Egypt breathe. You fall asleep with the taste of warm lentils in your mouth and the faint, floral smell of burning herbs curling around your head like a soft crown. But this isn't your night shift. You're back in ancient Egypt's dream world, the realm between sleeping and waking that the Egyptians believed was anything but random. Here, everything means something. Every symbol, every sound, every animal that wanders into your sleepscape is a potential divine message or a warning. Tonight, you dream of water. It's not the Nile exactly, but it flows like one, wide, slow, alive. You're standing knee-deep in it, surrounded by lilies that seem to whisper things in a language you don't quite understand. On the opposite bank stands a figure, tall, jackal-headed, serene. Anubis again. He raises one hand and points, not at you, but but it's something behind you. You turn and wake up. Your heart is thumping. Your mother is already sitting beside the family altar, writing your dream on a strip of scrap papyrus. She doesn't ask if she can. Dreams in this house belong to everyone. We'll take it to the interpreter tomorrow, she says. Dream interpreters were a real thing in ancient Egypt. Some temples even had designated dream chambers. Dark, quiet rooms filled with incense where people could sleep and, hopefully, receive divine visions. The priests would analyze these dreams with the help of books, huge collections of symbolic meanings passed down for generations. Like, if you dream of drinking milk, it means illness, or if you see a crocodile, beware betrayal. It's less like therapy, more like mystical decoding. You go about your day, dreams still heavy on your shoulders. By midday, you're standing in front of the scribe's booth in the temple courtyard. He's not a priest, but he's trained, older, calm, ink-stained fingers. He listens carefully as you recount the dream. Anubis in water, he mutters, rubbing his jaw. Could be purification, could be a transition. You frown. Good or bad? He shrugs. Depends. Was the water flowing clearly? You think. Yes. Clean. Then perhaps good. Change is coming. Just don't eat lentils tonight. You blink. What? Historians still argue whether lentils provoke dreams or prevent them. He says, a little too cheerfully. You thank him and leave. The rest of the day moves like the Nile itself. Steady, sun-soaked, a little slow. But that night, your family prepares differently. Your mother sprinkles crushed blue lotus around your mat. Your uncle leaves a bowl of milk near the door, an offering for any god or spirit that might pass through. And your father murmurs a short prayer to Serapis, just in case. You lie down, feeling oddly watched. Not in a scary way, but in a cosmic audience kind of way. Like someone, or something, is waiting to see what you'll dream next. Your eyes close. This time, you dream of doors. Endless stone doors, each painted with hieroglyphs. Some open, some stay shut. You try to walk through one, but the moment your hand touches it, it dissolves into birds, hundreds of ibis, white wings beating upward into the sky. You don't chase them. You wake slowly, feeling calm. Later that morning, your neighbor stops you on the street. She had a strange dream too, about bees in her bread. You both exchange symbols like kids trading stickers. Bees are fertility, she says, or maybe gossip. Ancient Egyptian life wasn't all pyramids and afterlife prep. It was dream analysis over water jugs, symbolic gossip in the courtyard, and midnight offerings whispered to gods who may or may not be listening. Some people even kept personal dreams steely, small card tablets where they recorded their visions and interpretations. Like a holy dream journal, but carved in stone. Others simply whispered them into temple walls, hoping the echo would carry upward. By afternoon, you've forgotten most of the dream except the wings, and the feeling that something's coming. Not good, not bad, just next. You sleep that night facing west, the land of the dead. Not because you're ready to die, but because that's the direction of endings. And maybe, in dreams, endings are just beginnings waiting for you to wake up. You're half asleep when the chanting begins. Low, rhythmic, steady. A chorus of women's voices rising and falling like a tide. You open one, eye to see flickering light cast from the doorway. Torches? No, oil lamps, arranged in a crescent around a bed you don't recognize. It takes you a moment to realize this isn't your dream. It's someone else's. Or rather, it's a memory, one passed down, stitched into your ancestors' sleep, ready to be replayed like a ritual. You're watching a birth. The woman on the mat groans through clenched teeth, her belly stretched taut as a moon. Around her, older women move with precise grace, muttering spells, rubbing oils on her forehead, fanning her with woven reeds. The air is thick with incense and sweat. In ancient Egypt, birth was sacred, dangerous, and deeply mystical. Dreams were sometimes believed to foretell labor pains or warn of complications. Pregnant women often wore protective amulets shaped like hippos or lions, representing Taret and Sekhmet, two fierce goddesses known for protecting mothers. As the labor intensifies, a girl begins to hum a lullaby, not for the mother, but for the child. She's preparing the air, smoothing the path between worlds. You glance down and notice there's sand beneath your feet. You're in a mud brick home, not a palace, and yet the room is filled with symbols. A reed mat embroidered with the eye of Horus, a clay bowl etched with fish, symbols of fertility, and by the door, a wooden statue of Bes, the squat, bearded dwarf god with a lion's mane, grinning fiercely to ward off evil. The baby arrives in silence. A moment later, it cries. The chanting pauses. The mother weeps. The girl's lullaby returns. And you blink. Now you're back in your own space, face pressed into a linen-covered headrest, sweat damp from whatever spirit just borrowed your dreams. Sleep, for ancient Egyptians, was often considered porous. Not a sealed state, but a permeable one, like floating between two banks of the Nile, where ghosts, gods, and ancestors could reach across and tug gently on your spirit. You stretch out on your mat and catch sight of a flickering lamp nearby. Your uncle sits beside it, sketching on a bit of ostrakhan, scrap limestone. You ask what he's drawing. A protective dream charm, he says. He shows you. A crude lion, a net, and a feather. Why those, you ask? The lion protects. The net traps the bad dreams. And the feather. He pauses, smiling faintly. The feather is Ma'at. Balance. Dream charms weren't just decorations. People painted them on walls, stitched them into bedding, even baked them into bread. They believed symbols had power beyond paper, like magical emojis with divine backing. But dream safety didn't end there. You'd also likely keep a dream guard near your sleeping area. Not a person, a figurine, often made of ivory or faience, shaped like Bes or a sphinx. You place it near your head, whisper its name before you doze off. Sometimes you even ask it for a specific kind of dream. Give me answers, someone might mutter, or show me my enemy. Historians still debate whether these dream charms were part of official temple ritual or just folk magic. But either way, the line between sleep and the supernatural was thin, worn smooth like a path walked nightly for centuries. You decide to try it. You sketch your own dream charm with a burnt stick, a fish, a pair of wings, and a tiny door. It's messy, but yours. You place it by your mat, lie down again, and exhale slowly. Tonight's sleep is different. You drift more easily, less startled by shadows. You dream of the Nile again, but this time you're not on the shore. You're drifting in a reed boat, your hand trailing through the water, stars bright overhead. A voice, not yours, says, "Ask the river." You try. The words stick in your throat. But the river answers anyway. It shows you a crocodile with gold eyes, a field of grain, and a man dancing on one foot. You wake up, both confused and weirdly calm. Maybe it's working. Maybe dreams don't need sense to be sacred. You've barely shaken off the remnants of your Nile dream when the house begins to stir. Not with voices, but with the soft creaking of wood, the shuffle of linen feet across cool tile, the muted clink of ceramic lids being lifted and closed again. It's the start of a sleep watch. In wealthier households, Egyptians often kept someone awake during the night to tend oil lamps, swat flies, or keep track of time using simple water clocks. You spot one now. An hourglass-shaped ceramic jar slowly dripping water into a marked basin. Time, not ticking but dripping. The sleep watcher tonight is your cousin. He sits cross-legged near the entry, sharpening a stylus and humming to himself. A clay jar of goose fat salve rests beside him, both for cracked hands and mosquito bites. He occasionally rises to trim a wick or adjust a breeze flap. He doesn't speak unless you do. You whisper, "Why do we take turns?" He shrugs. So no spirits get comfortable. And that's not a joke. In many ancient Egyptian beliefs, nighttime wasn't just for rest. It was prime visiting hours for entities who didn't belong in the living world. Your cousin's job is part guard, part guide, part lamp wrangler. You notice the flickering shadows again. Long, stretching, dancing over your woven ceiling mat like theater silhouettes. A crocodile, a cat, a jackal, then just wind. Sleep watching wasn't just a family custom. It appeared in some temple records too. Some priests of Khonsu, the moon god, reportedly performed night vigils and shifts, using chanting and incense to shield the sacred space. Historians still argue whether this was considered active prayer or merely passive protection. You roll over. Your mattress, a packed bundle of reeds and linen, sighs beneath you. Even the reeds seem half asleep. On your shelf, a small alabaster jar labeled with hieroglyphs for lotus and clarity sits unopened. It's filled with a mixture your aunt swears helps calm bad thoughts. It smells like wet bark and honey. You dab a little behind your ear and feel a tiny wave of drowsiness lap at your senses. You start to wonder, when did all this begin? When did Egyptians start treating sleep not just as rest, but as a carefully constructed spiritual space? Turns out, quite early, tomb paintings dating back to the Old Kingdom show images of sleepers surrounded by protective deities. Beds weren't just furniture, they were considered potential gateways. That's why so many tombs include miniature headrests, incense cones, and figurines of dream guardians. You don't need these things in the afterlife if sleep isn't a journey. You reach out and gently touch your own headrest. Carved wood, curved just right to cradle the base of your skull. Hard by modern standards, but surprisingly comfortable once you adjust. And then, faintly, it returns. The whispery sensation behind your ears. Not speech exactly, more like memory trying to turn into sound. You lie still, breathe slowly, and listen. A woman's voice this time, soft but insistent. Do not eat figs after dusk. You blink. Is that real advice? Or some kind of ghostly grandma warning? Your cousin's still humming, unaware. A moth dances in the lamplight. You close your eyes again and sink. And now you're somewhere else. A temple courtyard, deep night. The walls glow faintly in moonlight, and a lone scribe kneels beside a statue of Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom and writing. He's drawing dream images in the dirt. Eyes, spirals, boats, stars. You hover behind him, invisible. He's murmuring, let the dream reveal, but not unravel. You've never heard that phrase before. Maybe no one has. The scribe yawns and lies back on a reed mat, his head resting near the statue's feet. And again, the scene fades. Back in your own home, you stretch, murmur the phrase quietly to yourself, and smile. The night is half over. Your cousin starts snoring. The lamp burns lower. You drift. You wake to silence. But it's not the soft, cradling silence of sleep. It's heavier, intentional, like the house is holding its breath. A breeze from the shutters brings in the scent of myrrh. And somewhere nearby, a rooster is debating whether it's too early to announce the sun. You blink at the darkened ceiling, and your body reminds you that the mat was not designed by orthopedic gods. Your spine pops like reeds in a flood. But you're not alone. Across the room, your aunt sits cross-legged beside a low altar shelf. She's grinding something with a tiny stone pestle, her version of a morning ritual. The paste smells floral and sour at the same time. You pretend to sleep, so she won't rope you into helping. Too late. Up, she says without turning. Your breath smells like you angered a crocodile. You groan, then sit up. Morning in ancient Egypt wasn't an abrupt alarm or a coffee-fueled dash. It was layered. Soft, slow, entangled with preparations, invocations, and, yes, more sleep if you could get away with it. Egyptians often took segmented sleep seriously. That means two main slumber phases, sometimes broken up by small rituals, food, or conversations with dreams. This morning segment, often filled with interpretation. You're expected to tell someone, usually a family elder or a temple scribe, what you dreamed. Not for entertainment, but because dreams were thought to be divine messages, or warnings, or puzzles from the gods that needed decoding. You remember flashes, a boat with no oars, a woman with no face, a cat made of starlight. You mention none of that to your aunt. Instead, you stand, stretch, and make your way outside. The courtyard glows faintly pink at the edges. A donkey tied near the gate sneezes at you in greeting. Your father is already there, adjusting his head wrap. Beside him is a small table of breakfast offerings, figs, barley bread, a jug of watered beer. You take a bite of the bread, chewy, sweetened with date syrup, and try to shake off the lingering fog of the night. This is the part where Egyptians often made choices about what to believe. If you had a bad dream, you might go to a temple priest and ask for purification. Or you could simply smear a bit of natron on your skin and declare yourself spiritually deodorized. Historians still debate how widespread this morning dream-checking ritual really was. Some claim it was reserved for elite households. Others argue even workers and farmers had quick and dirty versions of it, muttering charms over the basin while splashing cold water on their faces. Speaking of cold water, you splash them now, and then your uncle appears, half-dressed and fully grumpy. He holds a scrap of papyrus with scribbles on it, symbols of fish, pyramids, and upside-down birds. He thrusts it toward you. Interpret. You blink. What? My dream, he grumbles. Read it. You stare the scrap. Uncle, this is a shopping list. He squints, then nods slowly. Then my dream was prophetic. And off he goes. You lean back against the courtyard wall, the bricks sun-warm from the memory of yesterday. The sky turns bluer by the second. The dream haze fades, but not entirely. You still feel brushed, touched lightly by something bigger, something that tiptoes through your sleeping hours with sandalwood feet. Egyptians believed the soul, *BA*, left the body during sleep and returned at dawn. It fluttered out like a bird and wandered through sacred spaces, ghost temples, or ancestral courts before flying home again. Sometimes it returned with ideas, or dread, or riddles. You wonder what yours brought back today. Then you hear laughter from the kitchen. Your cousin's awake. He's recounting your snoring to anyone who'll listen. Sounded like a bull arguing with a hippo, he says. You sigh, take another bite of bread, and just as the morning begins to settle, your aunt tosses something into your lap. It's a folded linen charm, stitched with a single dark thread and sealed with a wax stamp. What's this? For tonight, she says. You're sleeping in the granary. You blink. Why? There's a mouse. You stare. She smiles. Let the gods show you how to trap it. You sigh again. Guess the BA's going on another field trip tonight. You don't want to sleep in the granary. You really don't want to sleep in the granary. But here you are, tucked among sacks of emmer wheat and rows of ceramic jars, clutching a straw-filled cushion and that wax-sealed linen charm like they're going to ward off whatever shadowy, beady-eyed horrors might be scampering under the beams. The air smells of grain dust and something faintly rodent-like. Somewhere in the rafters, something skitters. And yes, you flinch. Welcome to Rural Pest Control, Ancient Egyptian Edition. Forget traps or cats, though cats do help, if they're in the mood. In many homes, especially in floodplain villages, the first line of defense was spiritual. Sleep where the problem is, dream of the solution, wake up wiser, and slightly more itchy. You lie on your side, trying to settle into a position that doesn't feel like you're about to be ambushed by an ambitious mouse. Through a gap in the wall slats, moonlight spills in, silvering the grain like it's preparing to star in a myth. The charm your aunt gave you, tied to your wrist with a thin reed. It holds a tiny image of Batet drawn in black ink, protector of households, goddess of sleep and cats, and possibly granary rodents. Egyptians believed charms like this could influence dreams, invite good spirits, scare off the bad ones, act as tiny invitations to the divine, saying, hey, maybe send help. You breathe in slowly, then out, and then, drifting down through the warm air like a whisper, comes chanting. From a neighbor's house, you tilt your head, straining to hear. Someone is reciting a heka, a magic incantation. It's rhythmic, low, comforting in a weird way. Likely a grandmother invoking restful sleep, maybe even pest protection. Egyptians used heka for everything from healing headaches to summoning better dreams. Or calmer livestock. You're not sure what it's for tonight, but it works. Your eyelids grow heavy. The dream begins quickly this time. You're standing in a long corridor lined with jars. Each jar hums faintly, like it's holding a swarm of bees. A cat with one golden eye sits at the far end, tail curled. It speaks, not in words, but in thoughts. And its message is clear. The mouse sleeps near the cracked pot. You wake up startled. Sit up. Look around. To your left, behind a row of tall vessels, you hear it, the tiniest squeak. And there, beneath the oldest pot, one with a chipped lid, movement. You blink, then grin. Guess the gods did show you how to trap it. Historians still argue whether dreams were truly trusted as tools of household management. Some think dream interpretation was mostly elite, recorded by scribes and priests. Others believe it was a common, daily practice for families across Egypt, especially when facing small problems like illness, pregnancy, or, yes, grain thieves with whiskers. You shuffle over, gently remove the cracked lid, and watch the tiny gray body dart into view. It freezes. You freeze. Then it scampers off, right into the cloth sack you've placed nearby. You cinch it shut with triumphant flair. Back to bed, but not before whispering thanks to Badet. When dawn finally peeks over the date palms, your aunt greets you with a knowing smile. She already has a new sleeping assignment ready, somewhere less crunchy. You did well, she says. Tonight, you may use the rooftop. You nod, bleary but proud. Sleeping on the roof sounds heavenly. Cool breezes, starry skies, no mice. Then your cousin adds, but take the scorpion charm, just in case. You pause, sigh, and start packing. The rooftop, as it turns out, is both a blessing and a trap. You climb the narrow stairs with your reed mat rolled under one arm and a satchel of charms under the other. The air is cooler up here, finally. The sun has long since dipped behind the date palms, and the sky is soft charcoal, dusted with stars. And for a moment, it's perfect. A dry breeze slips over the mud brick parapets. The rooftop feels like a hidden world, a quiet plain above the flies and goats and gossip of daily life. This is where people escape, sometimes to nap, sometimes to pray, sometimes to just stare up at the sky and wonder if RA will bring cooler weather tomorrow. You unroll your mat near the corner, where the wall offers some protection from wind. Tonight's bedding is minimal, just a linen wrap, a pillow of bundled palm fiber, and the scorpion charm your cousin insisted on. It's a thin copper disc with an etched outline of Circuit, goddess of stings, poisons, and generally anything with too many legs. You set it at the head of your mat, more for peace of mind than spiritual certainty. The family dog curls beside the stairwell. A good omen. You lie down, breathing in the scent of the rooftop, sun-warmed clay, fading incense, distant hints of cooking barley from a neighbor's chimney pot. Everything slows, except your thoughts, because now your brain has time to remember a few things, like the fact that not every scorpion stays outside, or that your cousin once told a story about a beetle crawling into someone's ear mid-dream, or that, according to ancient Egyptian belief, dreams on rooftops were more vivid, closer to the gods, more likely to be divine messages. No pressure. You shut your eyes. Try to listen only to the wind. Let it carry you. Was that a click? You sit up, heart jumping. The dog lifts its head too. A small shadow darts across the far edge of the roof. You grab your charm instinctively. Nothing else moves. Your heart slows. You lie back down. Turns out, ancient Egyptians used several layers of protection when sleeping outside. Woven mosquito curtains, rings carved with protective spells, even lines of salt or crushed garlic sprinkled around the sleeping mat. Tonight, you've got the charm, but next time, you're adding garlic. The dream that comes is short, but sharp. You're standing on the roof still, but it's daylight now. A falcon circles above. On the horizon, the river glitters, flooded, wide, and shining like quicksilver. A scorpion approaches from the far edge. You reach for your charm. It hisses, but then it bows, and walks away. You wake with a start. The sky is lightning. The eastern edge of the city is glowing faint pink. The dog is snoring, and you feel protected. Historians still debate whether rooftop dreams were seen as more sacred due to elevation, or simply because of the quiet. Some say priests practiced star sleep, waiting under constellations for guidance from gods. Others believe the rooftop was just practical, cooler, safer, better airflow. Maybe all three. You gather your things slowly. Stretch. Yawn. Your cousin peeks up from the stairwell. Did Bothet visit you? She asks, grinning. No, you say, rubbing your eyes. But a scorpion bowed to me. She raises an eyebrow. Good dream. You nod. It was. And no beetles, thank the gods. You step down from the rooftop slowly, feet light from rest, but muscles stiff from sleeping on hard clay. The house is still quiet. Morning in ancient Egypt doesn't roar to life, it simmers. A few neighbors are already sweeping their courtyards with bundled reeds. Hens are pecking at yesterday's crumbs, and someone is grinding grain in a rhythm that matches your heartbeat. Back in your room, your cousin is folding up last night's bedding. She holds up your copper scorpion charm and gives it a kiss before tossing it to you. You tuck it into your satchel like a seasoned dream warrior. You wash your face with cool water from a ceramic jar, the splash startling and bright. A smear of coal from yesterday lingers beneath your eye. You leave it. Ancient Egyptians wore coal not just for beauty, but for spiritual protection and sun glare reduction. Functional fashion, basically. As you dry your hands, the temple gong sounds in the distance. Time for the morning offerings. Even if you're not a priest or priestess, even if you'll never step inside the holiest part of a temple, everyone listens when that gong rings. It's a reminder the gods are watching. Whether you're napping, sweeping, harvesting, or dreaming, they're tuned in. Breakfast is simple: flatbread, a dollop of honey, maybe a fig if your uncle hasn't already raided the basket. You chew slowly, still caught between sleep and sun. It's the kind of meal that doesn't fill you, but satisfies your soul. Sweet, gritty, ancient. Your grandmother joins you in the courtyard. She stretches like a cat, then settles on a stool made of palm wood and patience. Did you dream? She asks. You nod. On the rooftop. She smiles and gives you a knowing look. Rooftop dreams always stick. And she's right. It does stick. Because here's the thing. Sleep wasn't just a nightly escape for ancient Egyptians. It was sacred ground. A time when your soul, your BA, could stretch its wings and wander. When you might see visions, warnings, or visitations. When your ancestors could whisper to you and your gods could test you. Even children were taught to respect their dreams. The papyri are full of dream symbols. Crocodiles for power, boats for transitions, bees for news. One ancient text describes a man who dreamt of climbing a sycamore tree, interpreted as an omen that his enemies would soon fall. Another tells of a woman who dreamt of fire devouring her home, only to be blessed with twins 9 moons later. Historians still argue whether these dreams were self-fulfilling or simply poetic hindsight. But the dreams mattered. They were written down, consulted, passed around like sacred gossip. Some temples even had dream interpreters, professionals whose job was to decipher the messages left behind in your sleep. You finish your figure. Wipe your hands on your tunic. The day waits, and it will be hot, relentlessly so. But for now, you still carry that cool stillness of the night with you. Down at the edge of town, the river glistens. You think of the falcon from your dream, the scorpion that bowed, the rooftop wind, and somewhere deep inside, you feel a tiny ripple of understanding. Not full clarity, just a shimmer, like the surface of the Nile just before a fish breaks it. You may never be a priest. You may never read the sacred texts or chant in the holy sanctuary. But in your dreams, you have wandered into a world that was once only for gods. And they didn't send you away. You gather your things and head for the fields. The day begins again. But you, sleepy traveler, have already lived another life. Above the city, below the stars, within the sacred hush of ancient Egyptian dreams. Now take a deep breath. Let the warmth of that ancient sun slip away. Let the rooftop breeze return, soft and dry and full of distant birdsong. Picture the river again, wide and glistening, and that reed mat waiting for you beneath the stars. The clay is cool beneath your back. The air is gentle on your skin. No beats, no buzz, just the silence of a city falling asleep. The copper charm lies beside you again. You don't need to hold it this time. Just knowing it's there is enough. The gods are far above, but not too far. The ancestors are close, but never demanding. And you've done well. You've walked their streets, laid your head on their rooftops, dreamed their sacred dreams. Now you can rest fully. The falcon circles again, not as a warning, but as a sign. that you're watched, not judged, that maybe, just maybe, something out there is smiling on your little dreams. So let your breath slow. Let your shoulders soften. Let your eyes get heavy, not all at once, just gradually. Like twilight turning into true night. Let go of the past, the present, the clay under your feet, and the worries between your ears. Tonight, you sleep like an ancient Egyptian. No alarms, no apps, no blue light, just sacred silence, clean linen, and the soft hum of a universe still dreaming around you. Sweet dreams.